Welcome to another episode of Ask the Insurance Expert, and today I'm excited to be joined by my colleague and COO of Insurancemarket.ae, that's Mahesh Balani. Mahesh, thank you very much for joining me. How are you today?
Hi Lee, thank you for having me. Doing well. How about you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. It's a pleasure, and I'm definitely looking forward to talking to you today. I know working with you, you've got a fountain of knowledge and great experience, so I know I'm putting the pressure on, but yeah. We're going to be talking about professional indemnity insurance specifically, so an interesting topic. As always, quite a vast topic as well, but we'll keep it fairly, high level today. First of all, let's just kind of get a bit of an introduction to yourself, if we can. Tell us a little bit about your experience in the industry and so on, if that's okay.
Right. So I started in the insurance industry in 2005 with a leading insurance company called Oman Insurance. I was in a business development role. Moved up into various roles in the company up to 2014, and then I moved to a Takaful operator, a very reputed one called Abu Dhabi National Takaful. I handled the broker relations and business development through brokers in their Dubai office for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then I joined Insurance Market as the COO. What I do here is basically head the non-retail operations and business development efforts of the company. It's been 2 years here. I just finished my second year anniversary. This month, in fact.
Well, congratulations.
So, yeah. Thanks. So it's been a great journey so far, and lots more to come.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so professional indemnity insurance, we'll get into it. What is professional indemnity insurance? How would you describe?
From a layman's term, you must have heard the saying, to err is human.
Yes.
So professional service providers such as surveyors, consultants, architects, they are using years of skill and their educational background to provide advice, to provide an intellectual service for a fee.
Okay.
And what happens when they make a mistake? Is that they are held financially liable for those mistakes, or what we call professional negligence. So professional indemnity insurance is a liability insurance cover to protect such professionals from claims or financial damages resulting from an error, an omission, poor advice, failure to meet specification, those kind of professional negligence claims. So that's the aim of the policy.
And what type of businesses specifically would need this level of this cover, professional indemnity?
So very broadly, if you're a business that is providing some kind of advice for a fee, where you're not, say, selling products, or part of your job is to advise on on specifications, on technical things like surveying a ship, or inspecting some elevators, or doing business consultancy, management consultancy. You're providing advice, or you're providing some design for a fee. You have a professional liability exposure, and you should consider having a professional indemnity. That being said, there are also certain industries that are specifically required to have professional indemnity just to operate as a business in the UAE. So you talk about, say, law firms. They need to have a professional indemnity to renew their license. There's a branch of professional indemnity called medical malpractice, which is a very big subject on its own. And again, there is a medical malpractice law. So there is a statutory obligation to insure in certain industries. And then sometimes it's purely because of a contract where, say, an architect, in order to get a particular job or a contract, he needs to prove that he has such insurance. So those are contractually driven. And then the rest of the people who don't have such obligations to insure, they still have the exposure according to the federal law. So broadly, anybody who provides such services should consider having it.
So there's a few different kind of ways there. You've got the people that kind of need it by law in order to trade effectively. You've got those that might need it in order to win a specific contract.
Yes.
And then you've also got maybe those that should have it, whether they do or they don't. There's as you say, there is a risk to them.
There is a risk.
So they would, likely look to consider it. So in terms of the cover itself, how does it actually work for an organisation, a business that have taken out professional indemnity insurance?
That's a good and a broad question. I'll try to answer it as best possible. The policy is a liability insurance, which means that it specifies a limit up to which it will indemnify our client from the claims that have come in from third parties or their clients. Those claims are legal liability claims, which means it would have been damages awarded by a court or agreed upon mutually by an arbitrator. The policy specifies the limit up to which the insurer will pay per occurrence or per claim, or in a number of smaller claims or bigger claims during the year. So there is a limit per loss and then a limit in aggregate. So that would include the financial damages awarded by the court, and it would also include the defense costs. So you will have court fees, lawyer fees. Even if you are proven innocent, you would still have to incur some expenses to defend the case. So the policy covers those things as well. And the policy works on an annual basis. And in some cases, for certain industries such as architects or engineers constructing a building, it can be done on a project basis, where it covers the duration of the project and a further period where certain losses may be discovered in the future. So in a nutshell, that's how it works.
Okay, so in that case where you've got the sort of project basis, that can be done like multiple projects within the year, for example. They can take one policy for one project and the next and carry on.
Yes, so people involved in, there are two areas where we see project covers being requested more often than others. One is of course, for architects and engineers, project managers. They are contractually required to carry a specific project insurance. We call it an SPPI, a specific project professional indemnity, and it has certain conditions that have to be met, so we give those on a project basis. We can also give people in the same industry an annual policy covering multiple projects on based on their overall annual income. So then that really depends on whether they are contractually required or whether their clients accept an annual policy. So that varies. Other than that, we also see the requirement for project PI policies in the IT sector these days. So people who are providing SaaS, software as a service, are sometimes required to have a project-specific policy. So on occasion we are able to provide project-specific or annual for them. Largely in other areas of professional indemnity, we see the requirement to be annual.
And just going back to the point of some businesses now needing this type of cover to win contracts, to get new business, is this something that's like more popular, so to speak? Are more companies having to go through that than they used to?
So the thing is that the UAE law already has an article that holds people who provide advice liable for such negligence. So since there is no statutory obligation to insure, these developers who reach out to architects and ask them to design for them, they are aware of the law, and they're just saying, protect yourself in accordance with the law, and these are the requirements that you need to have covered. So it is something that is coming up.
And also, just in terms of how the business actually gets the policy, is there a lot of information that they are required to submit? Is there kind of like deep review of their business activities and so on, or is it fairly straightforward for them?
So the interesting thing is that it's a type of insurance that an insurer has to underwrite, looking at the possibility of your key persons in your company making a mistake. So you can imagine that it's not simple.
Yes.
So there is a structured way of getting a proposal from a client, detailing the company's ownership, the breakup of their activities. So a law firm may be doing 90% of civil law, 10% of criminal law, and then that balance changes. Some people are involved in various other aspects, so then that changes their risk mix. And then another major financial indicator is the revenue. The more revenue you have, the larger you are as a company, the more clients you have, the probability of losses are higher, so on and so forth. So there is a structured form. In fact, it has become so detailed now that most major industries within that take a professional indemnity cover have a form specific to their industry. So investment advisory firms have a separate form that asks very specific questions about what kind of advisory services they offer. A lawyer has very specific forms related to them. So our job at Insurancemarket.ae is to understand your requirements, ask you the right questions to collect the right information, and then get you the right kind of cover that's suited to your business.
Yeah, and I guess that's an important part is ensuring that you do get the right information, and the more information the client provides, the better, because at the end of the day it allows you or us as a broker to go out and bring them the best options.
Absolutely. So the any information that would alter the underwriter's mind, we call it a material fact in insurance, is something that has to be declared to them. So that is something that we spend a lot of time with our clients, talking to them about their business, guiding them through filling out the forms and how they should actually disclose things in a proper way to get. One is that to get the cover to work for you when you need it.
Yes.
Because it's not only about saving on premiums. It's about that cover coming in handy when it really needs to, and making sure that the insurer can't slip away saying, you didn't tell me about this or that. So it's double edged. Am I taking too much information to blow up my client's premium, or am I taking the right kind of information to actually protect his interest?
So can that be a challenge then, that sort of information gathering stage? Is that the clients that are reluctant to give so much, or they just don't have time to fill out the forms and so on?
Sometimes it is a matter of urgency, and people would like to say, for example, get an indicative price without giving much information. Now the thing is that because of certain types of professional indemnity becoming statutorily obligatory, we have worked very closely with a few insurance partners where they have pre-underwritten and packaged the product, pre-priced the product up to certain sizes within certain industries. So, for example, tax consultants or medical malpractice for a small individual nurse or a GP or a dentist. We have these pre-priced. We are able to tell you what it's going to cost you, and we are able to tell you what the requirements are in order to you get onboarded onto that policy. Where it becomes a bit challenging is where the companies are much larger. They have a complex organization with various range of services being offered. That's where we actually need a little bit more detail, and you have to spend time with the client to understand what they're doing and help them through the forms and help them through the procurement process and reaching out to the market to get them a good, fair offer.
Yeah, of course. But at the end of the day, you're and we're there to kind of guide them through that process, help them, and it's in their best interest to go through that as well at the end of the day. So going back to something you said earlier about the limits, how much cover is enough? What sort of limits are available out there in the market for clients?
Leaving aside what is the statutory requirements for insurance or wherever it is contractually required to have a certain limit, let's talk about everyone else. For those that don't have any kind of guidance in terms of what limit they should be covered for, because they're taking a professional indemnity because they feel their business needs to be protected, is first of all, look at your business in terms of your revenue. What is the maximum contract value you have per client? And then understanding that based on what you do for that client, what could go wrong? And if something does go wrong, then what could it cost us? And then you do a market exercise with us to get you limit options, where we can get you an option of a limit of say 1 million dirhams on any one loss, or $1 million or $5 million, based on that exposure. So that's where we sit and we have a chat with the client to understand that, look, there's no law guiding you on how much you need as a minimum. There's no contract guiding you on how much you need as a minimum. You're just a business who really wants to think about getting cover. So let's understand, who are your clients? Do you provide services to major government entities, for example? Getting sued by a government would be a rather costly affair compared to getting sued by a smaller client. So that is the starting point to understanding what is the minimum level of protection that is reasonably required. For a small consulting business like an HR consultant or even a sports consultancy service, you would look at nothing less than 1 million, purely from the point that insurers don't really charge much less for a 500,000 or less. Their premiums are around the same point. So you reach this point where it's pointless to go lower on limits because the economic benefits are not that great. Every insurer has a minimum threshold premium that they would like to take in. And that's where we come in and advise you and say, there's no really point going in for lower limits because from a 5,000 dirham premium, you're going to go to 4,000. But your limit's half. What are you saving? It's pointless.
I think it's very clear as well already that the advice and the guidance and support is very important.
It's the major part of it. It's absolutely the biggest part of it.
It's not just fill out the form and we'll give you a quote, because the information that maybe they put down is not going to help them if they're just left alone to do it. So giving them that advice and looking at what sort of exposure do you have, who are you working with, as you've said.
So one thing I love doing is I love talking about what's not covered in a policy with my clients, because it's only fair that they should know your policy is not a blank check. There are limits. There are expectations of you in terms of your behavior or your conduct of your business. Insurance does act as a form of moral policing. So it's about making them aware that your policy covers you for so and so limits and so out possibilities, but it also restricts certain things. It also says that we don't cover certain things, and you should know about that more than what you should know about what's being covered.
Okay. And the cost then that's involved, is this like dictated solely by the limit? Is it certain industries just generally
it's a multiple thing. Like I said, for certain smaller businesses that have requirement to insure, we have been able to package it on the level of fees they earn and the limits they would like. Beyond a certain size, it really depends on the organizational structure. The fee income annually, has it gone up, has it gone down, the number of employees they have, the number of non-clerical employees they have who are giving out advice. So everything matters. Sometimes the jurisdiction matters. Are you giving advice to clients who are based in the US? Are you do you have a potential exposure of being sued in the US or in other countries that are known to be more litigious? So then that your risk exposure multiplies, and then the insurer needs to take a decision on charging the adequate amount of premium for that increased exposure. So apart from the small businesses, it is a multitude of things which is all put together in the proposal, that helps the insurer underwrite it. And why you need a good broker is that a lot of underwriters, it works on a lot of risk perception. So one person may see that as something extremely risky and wants to walk away from it, whereas the other person is more inviting to that sort of a risk. One example of that is law firms. So some insurers just don't want to insure law firms. Some insurers do not want to insure plastic surgeons. But that's our job, to know who can find, who we can find for you, who's going to do it, give you the cover you need at a fair price.
And you touched on the role of a good broker, and we've already kind of seen that the advice and the support initially is key. Going out to the market, clearly finding and providing quotes. What about sort of like once they have the policy, does the role as a broker end there?
Oh, absolutely not. One thing is that we are always at your beck and call for any queries. We are happy we visit some of our clients regularly to talk about how their business is changing, how their environment is changing. Sometimes in discussion, we come up with, just random questions that lead the client to tell us that their business has changed, in fact, and sometimes those things are not noted in their policy. So has their estimated revenue passed the what they originally provided at the start of the policy? Has their business added more functions or areas of expertise that weren't there before? So we need to constantly have a look at this during the year, and then of course to be by our client side at the time of an incident, being able to guide them on how to respond back to clients who are alleging poor advice, or who are sending legal threats against our client, and how to act with them, getting the loss adjusters and the insurers on board and taking the client through the process so that we can reduce as much anxiety as possible. Like I said, sometimes it could just never even materialize into a claim, but it's about being by your client's side and making sure they have the right advice through and through.
Okay, and in terms of those like changes, if you do notice that maybe things are changed or they have changed within the business, can that be amended like during the policy, or is that something that you would wait till the stage of renewal?
You should not wait. When it comes to the estimated revenue, we do work with underwriters that review the revenue at the end of the policy period, and they can charge the difference. Charge for the difference in case you overshoot on your revenue. However, when it comes to changes in your business, adding new activities, entering new regions, or providing services to new regions, we need to be in touch with our clients. We need to understand that those things are going on, and we need to have the cover in place before those things start. Because sometimes soon is not soon enough.
And in terms of claims, again, you kind of touched on this. Is there traditionally a lot of claims that are seen within professional indemnity cover?
I'd say largely in some areas it's more. Like I said, medical malpractice has become a different area altogether in terms of professional liability, and that's the area where we see large claims where the courts have awarded in excess of $1 million against one doctor for some negligence, sometimes even bigger against larger institutions. Larger hospitals have been given financial awards against them for much larger amounts. We also see claims coming in from the construction industry, so architects and engineers, in terms of design negligence, errors and omissions. We do see claims, not a lot, but they are there. And then facility managers, people who provide engineering services, also there are claims coming more often. And then largely the makeup of general consultancy services like business management, digital marketing, etc. In this region, it's not as much. However, that's not an indication of how it's going to be. We do consider that systems like the DIFC courts have opened up for people to sue on using English law, for example. So the access to the courts is improving, and in certain economic times, people are more motivated to sue.
And I guess it's all relevant as well at the end of the day in terms of the financial implications to a company or a large organisation. A $1 million dirham claim might hit them quite hard, but equally a 10,000 or 100,000 dirham claim to a different company can
absolutely
equally as hard, if not more.
It can damage the potential of the company. It can even sink a company. I mean, because it's not that you wouldn't have been able to earn that back in the future. It's that major shock of that claim that comes in, and it's usually enforced by some court. So then the court systems get involved. That means that they halt certain business transactions of yours in the country, and there's a lot to deal with. If a lawsuit is goes through and judgment is awarded in favor of the claimant. So our clients need to understand that if you're earning a revenue of say 1 to 5 million dirhams, if you were sued for an amount of 1 or 2 million dirhams, that's a very huge chunk of what you earn in a year as turnover, and you might not be able to get back out of that.
Yeah. So it's not just something that's kind of should be considered for the larger businesses. It can be
I would
small
See, the larger
companies as well?
businesses, the bigger business houses in the UAE, the large law firms or the very large, architects and engineers, they already have these insurances. The exposure is with the smaller firms that are growing. They need the support. They don't have the advisory services at their disposal. They don't have expensive lawyers at their disposal. And it is such a cost-effective solution to transfer that risk to an insurer. So that you as a business can thrive, grow, take risks and expand, sleep at night.
Absolutely. And is there many then, we've touched on the ones that have to have it, they need to tick the box for the license, they've done that, they've got the cover, you've got those that should have it. Are there many, I guess I'm asking for your opinion, that you believe are out there that should have it that don't, or would you say that the majority are covering themselves?
See, from Insurancemarket.ae's point of view, annually we see a growing number of first-time buyers.
Okay. Interesting.
It's a big area for us in professional indemnity. So it's a lot of work in terms of guiding clients. Sometimes clients are looking at it but not really ready to take a decision. Perhaps they are very early in their business. But we are seeing more and more smaller companies thinking about it, considering it. Some of them are purely considering it because they are coming from jurisdictions where it's common practice to have it. Whereas the others are doing it because of being awarded a new contract and they are scaling up their business. So we are seeing smaller companies get into it more, but I think there are still a very large number of small to medium enterprises in the UAE that are either uninsured or underinsured. Okay. So not having the right limits and not having the right cover that is adequate to protect your business, in the coming 12 months of that policy.
So again, kind of awareness and education on the subject itself will help, and
absolutely, yeah.
People may realise the risks if they haven't already. They may just not be aware at the moment. So
So like I said, it's such a cost-effective risk transfer solution that if you don't already have it, you should consider it. It's a no-brainer.
Definitely. I like that risk transfer solution. It's a very good way to put it. So if we look at Insurancemarket.ae then as a broker, what's the role? We've touched on a few points, but just in terms of this subject, professional indemnity, what are we kind of doing out there?
Step-by-step point of view, you put up your details on Insurancemarket.ae. One of our advisors calls you. We try to understand what is it that you're looking for. Some of our clients are coming with specific needs and they know exactly what they need. The next person is having a lot of questions and doubts, and our job is to understand what you do, what you're licensed to do. Is there any contract requirement for you to comply with, because certain contracts have specific requirements that we need to comply with on the insurance. Collecting the underwriting information from you, explaining to you why we need this information, because a lot of people don't even want to tell us how much their turnover is. So that's something that we have to break that barrier, get the client to understand that we're here for you. This is we are your advisors. So do with the information and then start a comprehensive broking exercise with the leading insurers in the UAE that we're partnered with, and negotiate terms for our clients, present a comparison to them, explain to them on the coverage and limitations of the cover, and sometimes we even go for a second round of broking where the client would like to see more quotes. So there's a lot of insurance providers out there. We always pick the top 5 in terms of their credit worthiness, their market reputation, their claims experience, and their who heads their technical teams in terms of their claim paying philosophy, in terms of their understanding of what they're covering, and then we expand to another range of markets where the clients want to see more, and then we explain to them very fairly what's good, what's not good, and where we think that their decision should be moving towards.
So in terms of how someone takes it forward, it's just really get in touch, initial inquiry, speak to yourself, speak to the team, and then of course you'll just guide them through the steps.
Absolutely. We've got a team of advisors, and I am also personally involved on inquiries that need my assistance, and it's a brilliant team. They very smart, young, energetic, and they go out of the way for their clients.
Definitely.
They go out of the way for their clients.
absolutely. Okay, Mahesh, well, thank you very much. It's been very informative, as I knew it would be, and
thank you very much. My pleasure.
Definitely learned some stuff myself. So yeah, it's been good. Thank you for joining me, and as we've said with many others on this, I'm sure we'll do it again, maybe at a deeper level, or with you, because I know that you know so much. We'll maybe look at another subject next time as well. So hopefully we'll have you back on at some point. So yeah, thank you very much. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mahesh.